The ultrasound image slipped from Melanie Harris's fingers, fluttering like a fragile leaf to the polished marble floor of Bennett Innovations' executive suite. Her breath caught as it landed at the gleaming Oxford shoes of Richard Bennett, the company's magnetic CEO. Time seemed to pause. His piercing blue eyes shifted from the quarterly report in his hand to the black and white photo at his feet, a silent question sparking in their depths. "You dropped something, Ms. Harris," Richard said, his deep voice slicing through the stillness of the 40th floor. Before Melanie could move, he knelt, his 6 feet 3 inches frame folding with effortless grace, and retrieved the image. His face remained a mask, but a flicker of something, recognition, perhaps, crossed his eyes as he noted the date, April 15, 2025, exactly 11 weeks after their electric night at the Bellamy Hotel charity gala. Melanie's pulse hammered as she took the photo, slipping it into her leather portfolio. "Thank you, Mr. Bennett," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos within. "The quarterly projections are ready. I've highlighted the top growth sectors." Richard accepted the report, but his gaze held her captive, sharp and knowing. "Join me in my office, Miss Harris," he said, his tone a velvet-wrapped command. "We have matters to discuss." 7 weeks into her role as the financial analyst at Bennett Innovations, Melanie had navigated the sprawling high-rise, home to 300 employees, to avoid the CEO's orbit. Until today. As she followed him into his corner office, the city skyline sprawling beyond floor-to-ceiling windows, her mind raced back to that January night. The Bellamy Gala had been a dazzling affair, champagne flowing, crystal chandeliers glinting, the city's elite mingling in a whirl of elegance. Melanie had attended as her roommate Jessica's +1, leveraging Jessica's family ties to the organizers. Richard, recently free from a high-profile romance with a French model, had been alone. Their eyes met across the ballroom, a current of electricity passing between them. They talked for hours, first about the charity's mission for children's education, then art, travel, their shared passion for classical music. He never mentioned his company, and Melanie, recently laid off, kept her job search private. They were just two souls connecting, a fleeting spark in a magical night. One night, that's all it was meant to be. A beautiful memory. Then, 3 weeks later, a call came about an opening at Bennett Innovations. The position was perfect, great salary, growth potential, but it meant risking encounters with Richard. She convinced herself the company's size would keep them apart. Surely, the CEO wouldn't recall a fleeting connection with a woman whose last name he likely never knew. But 2 weeks into her new job, her period was late. A pregnancy test confirmed her suspicions, and the ultrasound made it real. 12 weeks pregnant with Richard Bennett's child. Now, in his office, the air felt thin, the space too small. "Please, sit," Richard said, gesturing to a sleek leather chair. Instead of taking his usual seat behind the glass desk, he sat beside her, facing her directly, no barriers between them. "Your work has impressed me, Ms. Harris," he began, his voice measured. "Your analyses are insightful, creative. The board loved your presentation last week." "Thank you, Mr. Bennett," Melanie replied, her hands clasped to hide their trembling. Was he ignoring the ultrasound, or building to something? He leaned forward slightly. "I'm curious about something. When did you apply for this position?" The question caught her off guard. "February 7th, I believe. The interview took 2 weeks." He nodded slowly. "And before that, you were at Westfield Financial for 3 years, until the merger layoffs." "Yes," she confirmed, unease creeping in. His eyes never left hers. "And the Bellamy Gala was January 22nd. The air vanished from the room. He remembered, not just the night, but the exact date. "You recognized me on your first day," he continued, not a question. "Yet you said nothing." Melanie swallowed hard. It didn't seem professional to mention. "Professional," he echoed, the word heavy. "And the ultrasound I picked up, dated April 15th, showing a 12-week pregnancy, is professionalism. Why you didn't mention that?" Heat rose to her cheeks, her carefully built world teetering. Mr. Bennett, Richard, he corrected, his expression softening. We're past formalities, Melanie. Her name on his lips stirred memories of that night, whispered words, gentle touches, the way he'd looked at her like she was the only one in the world. Richard, she said, her voice barely a whisper. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't plan this. Rain began tapping the windows, a rhythmic backdrop to the tension. Were you ever going to tell me? He asked, a hint of vulnerability breaking through. Or was I never supposed to know about my child? I don't know, Melanie admitted, the truth spilling out. I've been grappling with it since I found out. Richard ran a hand through his dark hair, looking less like the formidable CEO and more like the man from the gala. So it's mine, he said quietly, though they both knew the answer. She nodded, throat tight. Yes. There's been no one else. Silence settled, broken only by the rain's growing rhythm. The city skyline blurred beyond the glass, isolating them in their own world. I should have told you, she said. But everything moved so fast. I didn't know I was pregnant when I took the job. And then, you're Richard Bennett, your last 3 girlfriends were models, actresses. Your life is complicated enough. Without my child. He cut in, his voice sharp. Did it occur to you I might want to say? Melanie bristled. And what would you have said, Richard? Congratulations on the one-night stand pregnancy. Let's get lawyers for child support. Or, best of luck. He stood abruptly, pacing to the window, shoulders tense beneath his tailored suit. After a long moment, he turned, his face controlled. You're right. I don't know what I'd have said, but I deserved the chance. Thunder rumbled, echoing her pounding heart. Tell me about the appointment, he said, softer now. Is the baby healthy? The genuine concern in his voice nearly undid her. Yes, she managed, blinking back tears. Strong heartbeat. The doctor says I'm doing well. Relief softened his features. He sat closer. I want to be involved, Melanie. Whatever you assumed about my reaction, you're wrong. It's not simple, she countered. We barely know each other. One night doesn't make a relationship. And I work for you. I know, he said, frustration edging his voice. But in 7 months, there'll be a child, our child. I take that seriously. His office phone buzzed, insistent. Mr. Bennett, the Nakamura delegation is here early, his assistant's voice crackled. He closed his eyes briefly. 5 minutes, Diane. Turning back to Melanie, he said, this isn't over. Have dinner with me tonight, not as your boss, as the father of your child. She hesitated, torn between self-protection and the pull she still felt. All right, she agreed. Dinner. Relief washed over his face. My driver will pick you up at 7 o'clock. Somewhere private. As she left, his fingers brushed her arm, sending a jolt through her. Thank you, he said. And Melanie, a child isn't unwelcome news. 7 hours later, Melanie stood in her modest apartment, rejecting outfit after outfit. Nothing felt right for dinner with the father of her unborn child, who also happened to be her boss. You're overthinking, Jessica said from the doorway, eyeing the pile of discarded clothes. He's seen you naked. Blue dress or black, he won't care. Jess, Melanie groaned, tossing a sweater. Not helping. Jessica caught it, laughing. You look like you're facing a firing squad, not dinner. How'd he take the news? Melanie sank onto her bed. Better than expected. Upset I didn't tell him sooner, but not about the baby. He wants to be involved. And that surprises you. Jessica sat beside her. You don't know him, not really. Exactly, Melanie said. One night, a few work interactions. What do I know about Richard Bennett when the cameras aren't rolling? I've seen MidnightTales videos speculating he owns a private island he's never visited or punched a rival at a charity event. Jessica snorted. Tabloids also say his French model ex was Canadian. Wear this, she said, picking up an emerald dress. It's you, simple, not too formal, perfect for your pregnancy. Melanie took it, grateful. What would I do without you? Show up in sweatpants, Jessica teased. At 7 o'clock, a sleek black car arrived. The driver, Thomas, apologized for Richard's absence, explaining he was finishing a call. Melanie nodded, masking her disappointment. Of course, Richard was busy running a global empire. The restaurant, Charlotte's, was a surprise, a renovated Victorian house, not a flashy fine dining spot. A brass plaque marked it as private, owned by Richard for special occasions. Inside, warm hardwood floors and a crackling fireplace created an intimate glow. Charlotte, an older woman, greeted Melanie, taking her coat. "Mr. Bennett's in the library," she said, leading her to a book-lined room. Richard stood, setting aside a worn photo album, now dressed in dark slacks and a charcoal sweater. "You look beautiful," he said, pulling out her chair. "Thank you for coming." Charlotte left them with sparkling water. "This place is lovely," Melanie said, glancing at the bookshelves. "Thomas said you own it." Richard nodded. "It was my grandmother's house. After she passed, I couldn't sell it. Charlotte, her housekeeper for 30 years, suggested this setup." The personal detail surprised Melanie, absent from his public persona. "You were close to her," she observed. "She raised me after my parents died in a car crash when I was 8, he said, a shadow crossing his face. "She taught me family is everything." Their talk paused as Charlotte served homemade chicken noodle soup, a refined comfort dish. "Your grandmother's recipe?" Melanie guessed. Richard smiled, surprised. "Yes. How do you know?" "It feels personal." Over dinner, he asked, "What are you thinking, Melanie?" "About the pregnancy, us, the future." She set her spoon down. "I want to keep the baby. That's clear since the first ultrasound. But the rest, my job, my reputation, I'm worried." "Your job is secure," he said firmly. "Is it?" she challenged. "Once people know I'm pregnant with the CEO's child, my work will be questioned." He frowned. "We can be discreet." "For how long?" "I'll show. People will talk." Charlotte brought the main course, filet mignon for him, herb roasted chicken for her. Melanie noticed Charlotte's knowing glance, warm with affection. Richard opened the photo album, showing a teenage Richard with a blonde girl, both smiling. "Amelia, my high school girlfriend," he said. "She got pregnant our senior year. We planned to marry." Melanie's breath caught. "You have a child?" "No," he said, voice heavy. "Amelia died from preeclampsia in her 7th month. So did our son." Melanie touched his hand. "I'm so sorry." He closed the album. "I'm telling you this so you understand why this child matters. I've known loss." A sharp pain stabbed Melanie's abdomen. She gasped, doubling over. "Melanie." Richard was on his feet, calling for Charlotte and dialing his doctor. At the hospital, Dr. Mitchell performed an ultrasound. "The heartbeat is strong," he said, then pointed to the screen. "And here's baby A, and baby B, fraternal twins." Melanie and Richard stared, stunned. "Twins," Richard whispered, wonder in his voice. Dr. Mitchell left them alone. "Are you afraid?" Richard asked, wiping her tears. "Terrified," she admitted. "But we'll manage," he said, taking her hands. "I'm all in." Melanie believed him. "I'd like to try dating, to build something real for our children." His smile was radiant. "I'd like that too." 18 months later, little Thomas banged his spoon in his high chair, chanting, "Da-da." Beside him, Charlotte arranged her cereal meticulously. Richard entered the kitchen, kissing their heads. The twins, born 7 months after that night at Charlotte's, were distinct, Thomas with Richard's blue eyes, Charlotte with Melanie's thoughtful gaze. Melanie handed Richard coffee. "Tokyo call at 10 o'clock. Jack wants projections by noon." He grinned. What would Westfield Financial do without their star director? She'd taken the director role at Westfield, a move that protected her reputation while allowing her and Richard to grow closer. "Flounder, like Bennett Innovations without its CEO," she teased. He kissed her. "Dinner tonight, Charlotte's, just us." Mom's taking the twins. It's a date, she said. As he left, he paused. I love you, all three of you. We love you too, Melanie called, her smile just for him. Later, she stood by the mantel, tracing framed photos, the gala, their twins, their quiet wedding. In the center, the ultrasound that started it all, engraved with the day our family began. Behind her, the twins giggled, their laughter filling the home she and Richard had built. Not the life she'd planned, but as Charlotte tugged her hand, Melanie knew it was infinitely better.